We are back with another product management case study interview video. First of all, thanks everyone for all the appreciation and feedback on the product management interview questions video. Do check it out if you haven't already. Link is in the description. Now, a lot of you asked for more case study videos. So here we are again. Hello everyone and welcome to Product is Life, your one-stop shop for anything and everything about product management. Just like I said last time, a case study is a conversation and not a one-way answer. So we'll simulate a conversation once again as part of solving the case study. I'll play the role of candidate and Jack here will be the interviewer. Hi Jack.
Hey there. Ready for your case study interview?
Yeah, sure.
So, let's get started. Assume you are a product manager at Netflix and you notice that from the past few weeks your average weekly watch time is going down. How would you approach this problem?
Sure. So as a start, I'll just make sure that our understanding of watch time is same. So I define it as just the summation of the total number of minutes of content watched by all the users, including rewatches across all devices and geographies.
That sounds about right. Let's just keep it at a weekly level to avoid the daily volatility.
Sure. And this drop in watch time, are we looking at any specific country or is it global?
Let's focus only on India for now.
Okay. So now before proposing any solution, I have to understand the root cause of the problem, and for that I'll need to look at some data points.
Of course, I'll help you with the data. Why don't you list down the data points that you need and I'll answer them for you?
Sure. I'll need to understand, is this problem occurring on any specific platform like app or web? And how many users are logging into the platform? And then I'll want to understand the average watch time per user. What's the baseline for that?
Sure, to answer your first question, this is happening across all the platforms. And the number of users logging into the platform is relatively stable. But yes, we do see approximately 10% drop in the average watch time per user.
Okay, that's helpful. So that means we are getting approximately the same number of users on the platform every week, including the split of new users sign up versus returning users. But still, our watch time is going down. Please correct me if I'm wrong here.
You are correct. Go ahead.
That leaves me to think that the problem is more of internal factors. Maybe something related to the content on the platform or some of the user behavior.
Sure, go ahead.
Since we are getting the same number of weekly users on the platform, I am a little less inclined towards thinking that any of the external factors could be the reason for this problem. But still, I'll try to list them down here before discarding them, and you can let me know if any of them is relevant here.
Sure.
This could possibly not be because of some launch or some campaign by competition, because our weekly active user base is not going down. And similarly, any change in our marketing strategy should not be relevant here as the user base is not impacted. Also, I am assuming that there is no other major sporting event going on like the World Cup, which could have negatively impacted the user retention.
Okay, go ahead. You can discard these factors.
Now, as I said earlier, the problem seems to be more of internal factors and could be related to content or some user behavior. I'll discuss the factors related to content first. Is there any content that we have taken off the platform, or is the drop in watch time with respect to regional or international content? Or is there any specific genre of content where we see this drop?
No, we haven't taken any significant content off the platform recently. But yes, around 70% of the content consumed in India is regional, primarily Hindi, and rest of it is international content, primarily English. And you can say that the majority of the drop is coming from Indian content. And there is no specific pattern in the drop with respect to the genre.
Okay, since there is a drop in Indian content, is the regular supply of new content a relevant factor worth pursuing?
That certainly is an important factor, but for the sake of our conversation, let's assume that there is no problem with the quantity as well as quality of the content supply.
So, to further break down the problem, we are now saying that the same number of users are coming onto the platform every week, but they are watching less of Indian content, and this is not being compensated by any spike in international content consumption. And as you said, there is no problem with the quality and quantity of the Indian content.
That's right.
So then there is definitely some user behavior related element at play here.
Okay, what do you suggest could be the problem in the user behavior?
Since there is no problem with the content supply, is there any recent change in the way user finds relevant content for them, like algorithms, maybe search or recommendation algorithm?
No, there has been no recent change with respect to the search or recommendation algorithm.
Then should we look at some of the user demographics data, like male versus female or age distribution?
We usually don't have very accurate data with respect to those parameters. So we'll have to skip them for now.
Okay. Is there any specific type of content where we are seeing the drop, like movies, TV shows, or some other type of content?
Yes, we saw a relatively higher drop in the movie's watch time, especially old movies.
Okay. Since you said that the Indian content is primarily Hindi, we are now saying that the majority of the watch time drop is coming from the users who used to watch old Hindi movies.
That's correct.
So now, to analyze it further, I think I'll need some help with respect to some user behavior patterns. And I'll try to list down some patterns, and if you could just point me in the right direction of what could be a factor where we should dig deep.
Sure, what do you have in mind?
Is the drop in watch time coming from any specific time during the day? Maybe users who used to watch in the morning or during the night or some other time. Have we seen any pattern there? Or is the drop from a specific way the users used to watch the content? For example, are they watching it online or are they watching it offline via downloads? Or is it like the users used to watch the content through recommendations on the homepage, or if they used to search for it, or did they land on the content through notifications?
Yes, these are good data points to look at. And to guide you through it, I think we can discard the timing of the day factor, as we have seen a lot of volatility in that trend. And there is no specific pattern that can be identified there. With respect to whether the users are watching it online or offline, there is a decent mix of both type of users. But we haven't seen any deviation in trend in the recent past since the drop in watch time has showed up. So, I think we can discard this approach as well. About your point of users watching the content via homepage or search or notifications, we have seen that a significant portion of the drop in watch time is coming from users who used to search for the content and then watch it.
That's helpful. So now we are further narrowing down the problem to the drop in watch time from users who used to watch old Hindi movies by searching through it, not through the homepage thumbnails, not through the notifications.
Yes, that's correct.
Alright, I think that helps a lot. Let me just structure my thoughts for a minute before proceeding.
Sure.
Okay, so if the drop is coming specifically from the users who used to search for old Hindi movies, then I think I'll try to walk through the entire funnel of a search journey and we'll try to figure out where the problem is. Are the users not clicking on the search icon at all? Or are the users clicking on the search icon but then not searching for anything? Or are the users searching for keywords but they are not getting the search results as per their expectations, and that is why they drop off? One may refer to a problem with the search algorithm, but as you already mentioned that we haven't made any change in the search algorithm recently, so I don't think that should be the reason, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
You are right, there is no problem with the search algorithm. But yes, with respect to the other 2 points you mentioned, we are seeing a drop in both of them. Less users are clicking on the search icon, and also a relatively lower number of users are actually searching for a keyword after clicking on the search icon.
Okay, so have we made any recent changes with respect to the search UI or UX recently?
Yes, we have made a couple of changes. First, we have moved the search icon from the bottom nav bar to the top right, and second, we have tried to incorporate few more recommendations, including games, on the search page.
So do you think reverting these changes is an option so that it can bring back the watch time that was coming through search?
Yes, that's certainly one way of doing it, but we prefer not to do major design overhauls frequently. And also there are few more long-term strategies due to which these changes were made, one of them being promoting our games feature more. But those strategies and decisions are beyond the scope of this discussion. So, just for this discussion, we'll assume that rolling back the changes is not an option for now. So, how would you help compensate for the drop in watch time that's coming because of these changes in search without rolling back the changes?
Okay, please allow me a couple of minutes to think through it.
Sure.
Do you mind if I take out my phone and open up the Netflix app to have a first-hand experience of what the search journey actually looks like?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll try to suggest a few options with respect to the second point first. That is, the users who are clicking on the search icon but not actually searching for anything. So as I see that when the user clicks on the search icon, then there are some content recommendations that show up upfront on the search page with a good amount of prominence to games, which you already mentioned is part of a long-term strategy. So my recommendation is that we can make the search page a little cleaner, at least by removing the content recommendations that are coming up. My hypothesis here is that when a user clicks on the search icon, then they already have something in their mind, and by showing recommendations, we might be distracting them. The users might click on one of the recommendations and then eventually not watch it, and then may not even come back to the search. So if the user is coming with a specific intent in mind, I think we should just let them go ahead with that planned intent without giving them too many distraction points. And of course, this would also require some data analysis about whether I'm actually getting some watch time from the recommendations that we are showing on the search page.
You are somewhat correct there. We are not getting any significant watch time from the recommendation on the search page. So, that's certainly a good idea that we can try out on a smaller cohort of users. What else do you suggest?
Then, with respect to the users who are not clicking on the search icon at all, I think there is some amount of user education also required to make sure that the users are aware of this new layout where the search is available in the top right instead of the bottom navbar. So some standard highlighters or coach marks around search for a couple of sessions to make sure that the users notice it. But I'm sure that as part of releasing this feature, Netflix would have done that already.
Yes, that's pretty standard. We have done that basic level of user education. Do you have any other suggestions?
So what additionally we can do is, for the users who are logging into the platform and are exiting without consuming any content, maybe we can show them an exit pop-up or an exit time notification, something on the lines of not able to find what you are looking for, try our new and improved search, something like that, so that we can so that they can come back to search.
Yes, that's a good idea and can be tried out. One problem that I see with this solution is that this could be done only for the users who are exiting the app by clicking the back button from the app. But if the user is just exiting the app by pressing the home button, then we don't have much control there to show this kind of notification. But nevertheless, an idea worth trying for sure. Anything else?
Yes. To suggest more solutions, I'll probably need some more observations or clarity about the user engagement. For example, what all is the user doing? Those users who log into the platform and don't search for anything and don't watch anything, then obviously they must be browsing through the app before they exit the app. So, is there any specific user behavior or any specific activity that those users are still doing so that we can introduce search or some nudges to search in that flow or make them aware of search? For example, let's say if the users are still scrolling through the homepage feed, then maybe we can add a search bar or some messaging around search somewhere after the first or the second scroll to make sure that the users are aware of the change in layout about search.
Great, I think these were all good suggestions. Okay, just one last question before we wrap up this discussion. Why do you think these changes in search were impacting only the Hindi content watch time and not the English content watch time, as these changes were made for all the users? So, they should have impacted all type of content, right?
Well, that's a good question. And I think the reason for that is, as you mentioned, that the drop is coming mainly from old movies, or you can say the tail end of the content. This tail end of the content probably doesn't make it to the recommendation algorithm regularly, and thus the only way for users to access this type of content is through search. And since we are talking only about India, maybe we can say that the demand for the tail end of the Hindi content, like old classic Bollywood movies, is much more than the demand for old international content in India. And that's why these changes in the search are not impacting the watch time of old international content, because search anyways was not contributing to their watch time in India. And I think we can easily verify this by comparing the search related contribution to the watch time of old international content in India before and after these search related changes went live.
Yes, you are correct. The demand for the international content's tail end is anyways not significant in India. And that's why it is not impacted by these changes. Okay, I think we can end the discussion here. You very methodically went about narrowing down the problem and gave some really good suggestions. I got a pretty good idea about how you approach the problem and the kind of details you go in. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the mock case study interview. Now there are a few key takeaways from this discussion. First is that you should ask questions to make sure that you understand the problem statement clearly. Be proactive. Throw in your definitions, assumptions, and ideas yourself and ask the interviewer to confirm rather than waiting for them. Don't hesitate in asking for help or some guidance for any of your solutions. Be explicit. Even if you're rejecting an approach, make sure that you mention about it so that the interviewer understands that you have thought about it and are consciously rejecting it due to some logical reasons. Otherwise, there is a possibility that the interviewer may think that you have not even thought of that approach. You could easily find multiple examples of this in our mock case study, where I mentioned an idea and then rejected it myself, giving out the reasoning along with it. Take your time. Don't be in a hurry. We all are humans after all, and not supercomputers, and it does take us some time to properly structure our thoughts and think through the problems. Don't just blurt out the first idea or thought that comes to your mind. Now, to properly understand these takeaways, I do suggest you to go through the interview part once again, because now you will be able to grasp the concepts in much more details. So that broadly covers it. Let me know in the comments if there is any specific question or area that you would have liked me to cover more of, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can in the comments. Please like and share this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.